Hi Year 10. Today we are looking at the topic of statistics. And we are going to start by reviewing statistics. And we're going to start looking at types of data. So the data we collect is made up of variables. These are pieces of information like a quantity or a characteristic that can be observed or measured. They may change either over time or between individual observations. So for types of data, the main types of data are categorical. This is where the variables can be put in categories. And in the categories, we can either have ordered, such as exam grades where they go A, B, C, D, E, F, etc., or closed sizes such as small, medium, large. We can also have distinct. So the categories can be distinct, such as types of cards, so Holden, Ford, etc., or eye color, blue, green, brown. We then have numericals, so the variables are numbers, and discrete would be goals scored, so 0, 1, 2, or numbers of pets, 0, 1, 2. Continuous is the height of a person, so 165, 168 centimeters, or the distance thrown. So if it's continuous, it means that it has a unit attached to it. So let's have a look at categorical or numerical data. So for some examples, we're going to describe each type of data as either categorical or numerical, and then if it's categorical, either distinct or ordered, or if it's numerical, discrete or continuous. So the breed of dogs. So breeds of dogs, they are categories and it's distinct. We can't order the breeds of dogs. For B, exam marks. So exam marks are numerical. We get numbers for exam marks, and they are discrete. They aren't continuous. C, the volume of water in a dam. So the volume of water is a number, so it's numerical, and it's continuous because we have units attached to it. For D, the audience size for TV programs. Again, this is numerical and it's going to be discrete because it doesn't have any units attached to it. It's just a number. The makes of cars, now this is categorical and it's distinct. There is no order that goes with the category. And the months of the year. So the months of the years are in categorical and they are ordered, such as January, February, March goes in a particular order. Okay, let's have a little look at collecting data. So the data we can collect can either come from a primary source, so data is collected firsthand by observation or survey, or a secondary source, so data is obtained from an external source, such as a newspaper, website, or another person's research. So you would have looked at primary sources and secondary sources in history. So let's have a look at some examples. We're going to state whether each of the data has come from a primary or secondary source. So the average income of someone in Australia. Now, if it was a primary source, would mean that you have to go around and ask every single person in Australia what is their source of income or their average income. So because of this, you're going to look it up. And so it's a secondary source. Now, B, the most popular type of pizza in year 10. Now there's no way to look this up, so it's a primary source because you are going to go around and ask everyone what their favorite type of pizza is. So also with collecting data, there are three main ways, and they are a census, a sample, or an observation. So a census means a whole population is surveyed. For example, every student in the school is questioned. You would also know the word census from the Australian census that happens every now and then, and we had an Australian census not too long ago where everyone in Australia had to complete an online survey about each person in their household. A sample, so that's when a selected group of population is surveyed. So for example, a small number in each class is questioned, and then an observation is numerical facts are collected and tabulated, such as sports data, weather, and sales figures. So let's look at whether these are samples, census, sample, or observation. So we're going to state whether a census or sample should be used in each of the following. The number of children in an Australian family. Now this one is a census because you aren't going to find a sample, you want to find the whole population. B, the most popular radio station in Australia. We don't really care too much about what the most popular radio station is in Australia. Some people might not even listen to the radio. So we are just going to find a sample. So it means we're not going to ask everyone and just get a sample on what is the most popular radio station in Australia. So for collecting data, when we collect a sample of data, we can collect it using three different methods. The first one is random sampling. This limits the amount of bias occurring, and it's in the form of pulling a name out of a hat, for example. We then have systematic sampling, and so that's when members of the sample are chosen according to a rule, such as every 10th member of a population. And stratified sampling. So this is if the population is composed of various subgroups, then a proportion of each group in the sample. E.g., if there were 20 year 7s, 30 year 8s, and 50 year 9s, and you only want to have a sample of 20 people, you would do the following calculations. So we use the formula of the number in the group over the total number times the number in the sample. So if we were to work out the number of year 7s, so there's 20 year 7s in the group. Over the total number, there is a total of 100 people for this, and then we times it by the number in the sample, which is 20. So 20 over 100 times 20 equals 4. So therefore, we'd want 4 year 7s. For year 8, we have 30 year 8s in the group over our 100 people times our number in the sample is 20. So 30 over 100 times 20 equals 6. So therefore, 6 year 8s. And for year 9, we have 50 in the group. So it's 50 over 100 times our number in a sample, which is 20, which equals 10. So therefore, we want 10 year 9s. So random, systematic, or stratified. Let's have a look at some examples. So we want to state whether each of the following is an example of a random, systematic, or stratified sampling. So we complete a survey about how many people lived in the house in each area. Josh visited every 4th house in the street. So because he is going by a system, he's visiting every 4th house in the street. It is systematic. Then we have Joe selected one house from each street in her neighborhood. So she looked at one house from each street in her neighborhood. So she did a stratified sample. And finally, Jack put the street names and numbers in a hat and drew out 10 to visit. So this is an example of a random sample.